Hey guys, what is going on? Back here for another game review, and it's time to talk about one of my most anticipated games of 2021. Specifically, my number 2, and that would be Resident Evil Village, aka Resident Evil 8. The next installment of the Resident Evil franchise, and the sequel to Resident Evil Biohazard. A game that I feel doesn't get nearly enough love. The moment I saw the title reveal during last year's Sony event, I couldn't tell you guys just how excited I got. Resident Evil is one of my favorite franchises in general. So, what did I think about the next installment of one of the greatest horror franchises, or just franchises in general? Resident Evil Village was a ride. An intense ride. With some issues. Getting into the plot. Resident Evil Village takes place after the events of Resident Evil Biohazard. You once again take control of Ethan Winters, the protagonist of Biohazard, as he has settled down with Mia and they now have a daughter. All seems okay with them until one night, well, where? I don't want to say too much in case you all haven't seen the reveal trailer, but let's just say Chris Redfield comes back and causes a lot of pain for Ethan. He and his child are taken away by Chris, but while being transported, they are attacked and Ethan's daughter is taken. While Ethan is in the process of rescuing his daughter, he comes across this village, and that's all I can say without getting into spoilers. So getting into everything that I liked about Resident Evil Village, first of all, let's talk about the visuals because, wow, Resident Evil Village is a gorgeous looking game. Also, the footage that you're all seeing is captured from a PS5. From the lighting, details, and characters, environment, the ray tracing, and the art direction, Resident Evil Village would easily get a 10 out of 10 for the visuals in the art department alone. The village actually kind of felt real in a way. There were many times throughout Village where my jaw dropped simply because of how certain vistas looked, especially in the castle, which by the way looked absolutely amazing. Going on to the gameplay. Besides the visuals, Resident Evil Village's strongest point is in the gameplay, particularly with the combat. I thought the combat was great in Biohazard, but the combat here is just so much more satisfying, and it's even better with the DualSense controller. You get a little resistance when trying to fire weapons, but depending on the weapon that you're currently using, you actually get a little resistance when aiming your weapon. The sniper rifle in particular not only feels incredible, but when you pop headshots left and right, it is absolutely amazing. The gameplay is a mix between the first-person perspective of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, but with the combat of Resident Evil 4. Like with Biohazard as well, a big part of Village is exploring your area to not only look for resources, but for crafting items as well. Though, with Village, it's almost like every item was essential to my survival. To an extent, but for the most part, the exploration felt very rewarding. On to the actual plot itself. Something that I absolutely loved is after a very cool opening sequence. By the way, the animation is absolutely spectacular. Village wastes no time in thrusting you into the action, and the actual build up to seeing the village, absolutely amazing. Honestly, the opening minutes of Village had my jaw dropped, and I would say that for the opening couple of hours, I absolutely loved everything story-wise. I'll get into the rest in a little bit. On to the most important thing about Resident Evil Village. The horror aspect. What I'll say about Village is this. More than anything, Resident Evil Village is intense. And I mean that Village is an intense game. It's a ride that had my heart pounding quite a few times. Now, that's not to say that the game isn't scary. The game does have a few scary moments. But there is one section of Village that, honest to God, scared the crap out of me. And when it comes to horror games these days, it takes a lot to scare me. But this particular section of Village actually scared me so much to the point where I actually had to put my controller down just to catch my breath. I haven't been that scared playing a horror game in a long time. Another thing that I must praise is the replay value of the game. I clocked my first playthrough of Resident Evil Village between 9 to 10 hours. Now that may seem a little short, but I actually felt that it was just right. I know that some players have taken longer to beat it, and I know that some have actually beaten it in an even shorter time frame. But what makes the 9 to 10 hours, in my case at least, is that knowing that there is a new game plus mode. And from what I know of, you can actually carry over your weapons and the treasure that you have unlocked to your new game, which I absolutely love. And Village is a game that I can definitely see myself playing more than once. Now on to the things that I was mixed on. Starting off with the story, in particular with the final couple of hours. No spoilers, I promise. There were a few things that happened in these final few hours. One thing that I didn't buy at all, honesty, and the other thing that while I completely understood it, it was the execution that fell flat. It's something that I really want to talk about, and I can't for spoilers' sake. I will be doing a spoiler video very soon on this, so stay tuned for that. Let me just say that there were a couple of things that final couple of hours that I'm just not quite honestly on board with. Also, in terms of the bosses, there are 3 boss fights that I absolutely love. The others I either didn't quite love or I was honestly kind of let down by them. One in particular that I was not only able to beat really easily, but I just didn't find them intimidating whatsoever. There's another boss fight that I felt like was actually ripped from another Resident Evil in a certain way. The boss fight itself, do not get me wrong, it was suspenseful, but I couldn't help but feel that it was taken from another Resident Evil and just tweaked in just a little way. One thing that I'm really surprised to say is that I actually found Resident Evil Village a bit too easy. I was playing on standard difficulty and I died maybe 3 to 4 times. 2 of those times were because of my own stupidity with a boss or 2. Otherwise, Village wasn't really that challenging of a game. I found that when I got to the end game, I actually had a lot more ammo than I needed. Thankfully, from what I've seen, I can do New Game Plus on a harder difficulty, which I will do, so I have to give points on that. But still, knowing that, at least for my playtime, knowing that I found Resident Evil Village a bit too easy compared to Resident Evil Biohazard, that surprises me. One part of the game that I honestly didn't like was a section involving a factory. I wouldn't say that I felt like that it elongated the game, but the section itself I found disappointing, especially with the bosses of that section. Now, this is definitely much more of a personal thing on my end. Other than that one section to which I will get into more spoilers, I found that the game wasn't all that terrifying, or really all that scary. It was definitely an intense ride, but in terms of survival horror, it didn't quite get there for me. So overall, Resident Evil Village is a great game and a great sequel to Resident Evil Biohazard, but I gotta be honest, I do prefer Resident Evil Biohazard. Now here's the thing, guys, while Biohazard focused more on the survival horror aspect, it still had a great balance of action and horror. Village didn't quite have that for me, but I can say this, I can see some people preferring the claustrophobic horror of Biohazard, or I can see some people preferring the more action-heavy aspect of Village. I do have issues when it comes to the story of the game, which I will have a spoiler review for very soon. But otherwise, Resident Evil Village was a hell of a ride, and it's a game that I'm excited to jump back in. All in all, I'm going to give Resident Evil Village an 8.5 out of 10. In some ways, Village did disappoint me, but with that being said, Resident Evil Village is still an excellent game, an intense game, and given how the game ends, I'm excited to see where things go. That's gonna wrap it up for my review of Resident Evil Village. Please comment down below and let me know, which game do you prefer, Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil Biohazard? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat and Stardust, so if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Resident Evil Village. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever the latest video of mine goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 videos, please click either the left or right side of the screen. And of course, until my next review or video, I will see you all next time.
Jesus Christ!
That's right. Run for your life.